Hey everybody, welcome to another scintillating video about Excel. I really like Excel. I'm sorry, I'm a geek, I admit it. I like Excel. What I want to show you are what are called logical formulas. Now, a formula is addition, subtraction, multiplication. That's a regular formula or a function. But a logical one is what's better known as the if function. Now, here's a group of people. Hopefully you recognize their names. Greg, Marsha, Peter, Jan, Bobby, Cindy, Mike, Carol, Alice. This is the Brady Bunch. When you were homesick, you might have seen them. They're from the late 60s, early 70s. I know I'm old, remember. These are the scores they got on a test. Marsha got 100 because I was always in love with Marsha. And I want to know if they passed. Now, if I just look at this, if you have a 70, a 71, meaning a better than a 70, you pass. So if we look at this, did Greg pass? Yes, he passed. Marsha passed. Peter, by the skin of his teeth, passed. Jan, passed. Bobby, failed. Cindy, passed. Mike and Carol both passed with a 90 because he's an architect and they're married, so they get the same score. And Alice failed, although she's very smart. Now, what if Peter comes up? What if we look at Peter's paper again and go, oh, I made a mistake. He will get a 70. You notice it still says pass here. It shouldn't. It says they fail. Why? Because 70, it has to be better than 70. 70 doesn't count. So what if Greg, we find out Greg was smoking? That was a whole episode about that. And we take 20 points off for smoking. Once again, he doesn't pass anymore. He should be failing. This is where an if statement comes in. We need the computer to look at this for us. That way we don't ever have to worry about it. The if statement, there's three parts to an if statement. Now, the first thing you have to do is type equal because it's a function. You have to get that out of the way. Equal if, open parenthesis. That starts it. Equal if, open parenthesis. Now, you notice I'm getting a little helpful hint here. What it wants to know is, okay, what's the logical test? There's 6 things you can ask of it. You could say, is one thing greater than another? Is one thing less than another? Is one thing equal to another? So I'm going to hit escape for a moment. So for example, that's greater than, less than. Now I can't type an equal sign here because if I do, it thinks I'm doing a formula. So I'm going to say, I'll just type the word equal sign in here. Equal sign. Okay, just I tried doing equal signs in there and the system freaks out. So just an equal sign. What would this be? That's greater than or equal to. This is less than or equal to. And the one that throws people is this. They're like, what does it mean between? It means not equal to. So these are the 6 questions or logical tests you can do in an if statement. So if we go back to our thing here, we go equal if, open parenthesis. What's our logical test here? We're look at Greg's score. You got a 65. Did Greg pass? No. How do you know that? Because you compared it in your head. You said B2, in this case, 65. You said, is B2 greater than 70? Comma. If it is, I want to see the word pass there. Otherwise, I want to see the word fail. I'm going to explain what I just did in a second. Hit enter. He failed. Now I'm just going to pull this little, I call this, by the way, this little corner thing, I call it the pimple, because everything in Excel is called auto something, like auto sum, auto this, auto that. This is called autofill. I call it the pimple. That's how you know someone took my class, because they're like, oh, did you grab the pimple? That's how you know it's one of my students. So I grab the pimple, it turns into a little thin plus, and I click and pull it down. There we go. So now Greg yells, he goes, smoking cigarettes shouldn't matter. And we're like, you're right, Greg. I'm going to give you back your 20 points. Bingo, it says pass. So what are the 3 parts to the if statement? The first part to the if statement, if you look up here, it says B2 greater than or equal to 70. That's the question or the logical test. Then a comma. Then after the comma, it wants to know, what am I going to do if it's true? If you want a word to show up, you have to put it in double quotes. If you don't, you will get an error. If you want a number to show up, like maybe you want to do a calculation, don't use double quotes. But if you're using a word, in our case, we're using a word, it has to be in double quotes, then a comma. Now, why do I have the fail there? Let me hit escape for a second. Let's get out of here. There we go. Let's say it's 85. And I'm going to type this in here again. Equal if, open parenthesis, if B2 greater than 70, comma, pass. Couldn't I just stop there? He passed. Why do I need the fail? You didn't fail. When I hit enter, look fine. Watch what happens when I pull the pimple down to copy it down. See, it doesn't look good here. It's like, because the system is saying, I don't know what to do if it's false. You didn't tell me what to do. That's why I'm going to go backwards here. There. That's why you always have to include both the pass and the fail chance. There's a probability it could change, so you have to include both. Now, why did Peter fail? He got a 70. That's because we said greater than 70. Now, what if we change that to greater than or equal to 70? Like that. We hit enter. Greg still passes. He's fine. Let's see what happens to Peter. I'm going to pull the pimple down. He passes now. So, by the way, if you noticed, I was going to do something with Peter, but I went right back to Greg. You should always start at the top when you're doing it. Because if you just change Peter's and you don't change anyone else's, you're going to run into problems because they're not the same formula anymore. So you want to do the formula first and just pull the pimple straight down and it copies it down. I'm going to show you a little trick with this, by the way, this little pimple thing. Let's say I have Jan. And I click on it and I pull the pimple across this way. Can you see what it's doing? What did it just do? It did the months. Why? The pimple is just a copy function. But when you have certain words in there, like for example, I'll do week one. I hit enter. Now I grab the pimple. It's incrementing it. It sees the number 1. It goes, oh, you must mean week 2. When it saw Jan, it said, oh, you must mean the month. What if I did this? Let's get rid of this. What if I type here January and I hit enter and then I pull the pimple? I can pull it down too. It doesn't matter. It does the whole word. You can go, if anyone wants, I could show you this on your own. It's a little difficult to get into, but you can make your own lists. Like for example, if I type the word Greg and then I pull the pimple down. See, it's just a copy function. It doesn't know any better. When it sees Greg, it goes, that's nothing special about Greg. And there really isn't. Marcia now, oh, she's special. But if I typed Greg and I pull the pimple down, it just says, okay, I'll just copy the word Greg straight down. That's what I was doing here. I'm just doing a copy, except every time it copies it, it increments the row it's on. So that's the pimple. By the way, the pimple only goes in one direction. Watch, I'm just going to click on this. I can pull this across or I can pull it down. I cannot pull it diagonally. It will not go that direction. So when you use the pimple to copy, you either have to go across and then down or down and then across. Either way. Okay, so I'm going to do some more videos about Excel. Excel is very powerful. There's a lot you can do with it, and I really like it. It's very logical. So I'll do some more videos, but these are your first 2. If you have any questions, give a yell.